How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to the channel. It's about time I finally do a video on the newest generation of Pokemon games that came out in 2019, that being Generation 8's Sword and Shield. See, I wanted to wait for doing this challenge for a long time, since I wanted to do all of the DLC together along with the main game. Since for those unaware, you can catch the majority of the Pokemon in the DLC areas before you get your first badge, meaning this is going to be a much different adventure than what you've likely seen elsewhere. Anyway, let me give you a quick refresher on the rules. Rule number 1, I must capture and evolve every obtainable Pokemon before every gym badge. If I have access to multiple gym badges, I must go for the one that gives me access to the most Pokemon, but Sword and Shield is very linear, so I won't have to worry about that. Rule number 2, no trading or accessing other games, so in this case that includes online connectivity, and rule number 3, no glitches. But before we begin, make sure to smash that like button. I want to see this video hit 2,500 likes in the first week of this video's release. Make sure to subscribe, since we're on the drive to 100k, and I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Audible. If you're unaware, Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, sporting thousands of titles ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. There's 100% something out there for you to enjoy. There's so much to choose from, and giving it a go is as easy as downloading the free app on your phone or tablet. Members can even download titles and listen offline anytime and anywhere, plus they're yours to keep forever even if you decided to cancel your subscription. I have a really hard time falling asleep without some sort of audio stimulation keeping my brain running until it physically won't work anymore, and Audible has a ton of great listens to help me out with that. Lately, I've been listening to the autobiography Young Bucks, Killing the Business from Backyards to the Big Leagues by Matt and Nick Jackson, the current All Elite Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, and it's been such an adventure just learning about how they managed to come up from their own father, building a wrestling ring for them in their own backyard, to starting the biggest wrestling promotion to rival the WWE since WCW folded in 2001. Seriously, their story is inspiring, even for people that don't watch wrestling, but if you're more of a fiction reader, I'd check out the Tales of SCP series created by Michael Neuros. They're quite eerie, and there's tons of different fictional characters to learn about. Sort of like highly terrifying Pokemon that can rip you in half if you blink. It's a grand old time. You can get started on your membership today by visiting the link in the description below, audible.com/chaoticmeatball, or text the combined word Chaotic Meatball to 500-500. Again, Audible has a ton of books and podcasts to offer you, so you're bound to find something to pop into your ears. So consider signing up for Audible today and fill your ears and your time with a wide selection of audiobooks. And let's get into the challenge. So, I'm going to preface this by saying that the Sword and Shield with DLC Professor Oak's challenge is probably the longest one in terms of the amount of Pokemon available, but in terms of time? Well, let's find out if it ranks up there with the likes of Heart Gold Soul Silver or Black and White 2. Firstly, I should explain though why I'm on screen. Well, I streamed this entire challenge over on twitch.tv/chaoticmeatballtv, so definitely go drop a follow over there, link is in the description as well as in the iCard on the top right of your screen. So after sitting through Chairman Rose's presentation on the wonderful world of Pokemon, it's time to get off our couch, and yes, I'm actually playing as the female character this time. I haven't done this before, and honestly, Glory is probably the best female playable character in Pokemon, if only for the memes and her thick Scottish accent that the fans have given her. After a few cutscenes though, I'm able to choose my starter. None of them evolve at a lower level than the other, so I just left it up to Twitch chat, and they chose Sobble for me. Good choice everyone, so after taking out Hop, I headed into the Slumbering Weald, encountering the Sword Dog, and since we're still in territory of tutorials, but when are we not in the territory of tutorials mode in this game? God, I hate Generation 8. After getting out of this Weald, it's finally time to move through some routes, getting to Route 1 and capturing Squovit, Rookidee, Caterpie, Nickit, and Wooloo from the Grass, both overworld and random encounters. See, routes are a bit weird in Sword and Shield, as there's certain Pokemon you can only find on the overworld, and then there's the ones you can only find from the shaking patches of grass. I have a guide linked down below to distinguish between the two, but for the purposes of simplifying this video, I'll be grouping them together if they're found in the same area. After getting to Wedgehurst, I got the Pokédex from Sonia, healed up, and moved back to Route 1 since I still needed to capture Grubbin, Blipbug, and evolved Caterpie into Metapod at level 7 before moving on to Route 2. There's a few new ones here as well, including Galarian Zigzagoon, Yamper, Choodle, Seedot, Purloin, and Hoothoot, leaving just the trainers and another rival battle before Metapod evolved into Butterfree at level 10. Leon giving me the letter of endorsement, I randomly got a wishing star from the sky, and access to the fishing rod. Yeah, we're getting a lot of key items thrown at us pretty instantly, but hey, the fishing rod is appreciated since here on Route 2, I can fish up Magikarp and Aerocuda. And now it's time for that insane part of the run that comes extremely quickly, the wild area. Fortunately though, I don't have to do anything in that part yet, since I want to finish off every area that isn't the wild area or DLC areas first, since there's still quite a few things to get. After signing up for the gym challenge, giving ourselves the number 69 because of course I would, I'm able to go fishing here in Motostoke. There's a relatively rare encounter here, which literally took me like half an hour to find, evolving Sobble into Drizzile in that time before finding Barboach. With that though, I can't capture anything else before moving the story along, so I went into a stadium, said hello to the crowd, and left before they could manage to make any connection to me whatsoever before destroying Hop for a third time. I didn't even mention the second time because that's how many times they make you fight him, moving on to Route 3. Quite a few more encounters are here, including Gossifleur, Trubbish, Machop, Vulpix, Mudbray, Stunky, Pancham, Roly-Poly, Sizzlipede, and Clink before evolving Rookidee into Corvisquire off of the trainers in the area, leaving just Cherubi to be captured from shaking the berry tree. Immediately after Route 3 is the Galar Mine, so we've got even more encounters to grab, those being Timburr, Drillbur, Woobat, evolving Nickit into Thievul at level 18, Diglett, and Roggenrola before taking out Bede and moving out of here. And immediately back in, since there's a static encounter on one of the railroads in here, that being Carkol. I can't catch up to it through the original entrance, so this was my only way of getting it without having to evolve Roly-Poly. Turning back around towards the exit gets me out onto Route 4, which has even more Pokemon to get, like 2 Galarian Meowth since we'll need one for a trade, Pumpkaboo, Pikachu, Electrike, Milcery, Joltik, Badoo, Cutiefly, and finally after a few minutes, the 1% Eevee encounter. Now normally I'd like to get 8 of these, but we can breed in this section, so there's no need. With that though, I'm finally able to get into Turffield, where I'm able to use a strawberry sweet that I got from Motostoke, giving it to Milcery and doing the JoJo pose to evolve it into Alchemy. There's also a fishing spot on the east side of town where I can capture Goldeen, our last capture needed from the mainland, leaving just the wild area and DLC areas. Well, except for a trade in Turffield Stadium where I can trade a Galarian Meowth for a Cantonian Meowth. We need both since they evolve into different Pokemon. But yeah, let's get into that wild area. I headed back to the meetup spot and circled around the area for a bit, starting with the rolling fields to capture Bunnelby, Wingull, Nuzleaf, evolving straight into Shiftry with a Leaf Stone that I got earlier, 3 Tyrogue, Ninjask, Pidove, Diggersby, and Applin from a rare raid den. I'm just gonna be honest with you, this section is so all over the place, both with me jumping around from area to area, as well as just how many Pokemon are available. There's over 500 in this section, so it's basically impossible for me to state every location that I obtained a Pokemon without both A, seeming redundant, and B, making this video 2 hours long. So if you want the most detailed guide possible so that you can do the challenge yourself, it will be linked in the description, but I will be general about where I got them, specifically the wild area, raid den, Isle of Armor, or Crown Tundra. Now that my life has been made easier, I continued through the wild area, capturing 2 Oddish, Stuffle, Krabby, Timpole, Wooper, Wishy-Washy from fishing, Remoraid also from fishing, evolving Wooloo into Double at level 24, Shelter from fishing, evolving Squovit into Greedent at level 24, and Gossifleur into Eldegoss at level 20, Basculin from fishing, Corphish, Blipbug evolving into Dottler at level 10, and a super long search for a Pyukumuku from fishing, a 1% encounter that I actually abandoned, capturing Inkay from a raid den, Golurk, Drifloon, Bounsweet, Ralts from a raid den, Wooper into Quagsire at level 20, Purloin into Liepard at level 20, Hoot Hoot into Noctowl at level 20, Tyrogue into Hitmonchan at level 20 with higher defense than attack, Ralts into Kirlia at level 20, Pikachu into Raichu with a Thunderstone, all of those before finally going back to the search for Pyukumuku. I probably took about an hour total at this spot before I finally found one, and you can tell from my reaction on stream that I was super relieved to finally have found it. I was starting to get bored already of the wild area, taking on a few more raid dens before heading out somewhere else that contained Ghastly, Inkata, evolving Grubbin into Charjabug at level 20, and Natu. Here's where I decided to finally go to the DLC areas. So I started out with the Isle of Armor, catching a Galarian Slowpoke in the Wedgehurst Station, only to leave it immediately and head over to the Crown Tundra. See, this place is where I'm going to be spending the majority of my time during this challenge, as there's literally dozens of Pokemon exclusive to Dynamax adventures over in the Max Lair, an area where you rent Pokemon, taking on Dynamax raids in order to get to the Legendary in the back of the area. There's over 20 Legendaries I can get here, and over 50 regular Pokemon exclusive to the Dynamax adventures, so I'm gonna have to spend literally dozens of hours here. After taking on Peony and getting crushed by his level 70 Pokemon, he doesn't care that I'm here with super low level Pokemon, he just lets me meet up with him over in the Max Lair, introducing me to Dynamax adventures. These were actually really fun, since this POC was actually my first full playthrough of the game. But they did wear down their welcome about after 4 hours, but I digress. During this round of Dynamax adventures though, I'm able to capture Suicune, evolving Clink into Clang at level 37 and into Klinklang at level 49. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, you can get Dynite Ore for doing Dynamax adventures. For each piece of Dynite Ore you collect, you can trade that in for an EXP Candy L, which when given to a Pokemon provides 10,000 EXP. These are super broken, and literally mean that I don't have to grind, which is fine since capturing the Pokemon takes longer than capturing and grinding and several other Professor Oak challenges. My strategy starting out with these was to always aim for the legendaries, but also go through the route with at least one new Pokemon so that in case I fail, I have something to grab that still adds to the total. Since I knew I was bound to get my bum handed to me several times, which did end up happening on plenty of the box legendaries, though some of them only took a single attempt before I was able to take them down and capture them. Getting back to Dynamax Adventures, I'm able to get Ho-Oh, Groudon, Remoraid into Octillery at level 25, Electrike into Manectric at level 26, Pidove into Tranquil at level 21, and into Unfezant at level 32, Cantonian Meowth into Persian at level 28, Nincada into Shedinja after splitting off in the party, Arrokuda into Barraskewda at level 20, Politoed, Natu into Xatu at level 25, Ghastly into Haunter at level 25, Dottler into Orbeetle at level 30, Landorus, Machop into Machoke at level 28, Drizzile into Inteleon at level 35, Corvisquire into Corviknight at level 38, Tyrogue into Hitmontop at level 20 with equal attack and defense, Oddish into Gloom at level 21, Timber into Girder at level 25, Cutiefly into Rabombi at level 25, Galarian Zigzagoon into Linoon at level 20, Moltres, Bounsweet into Steamy at level 18, and into Serena after learning Stomp, Diglett into Dugtrio at level 28, Vanillish, evolving into Vanillux at level 47, Sizzlipede into Centiskorch at level 28, Charmeleon, Lampent, Crocodile, Dialga, Yamper into Boltund at level 25, Choodle into Dreadnought level 22, Barboach into Whiscash at level 30, Corphish into Crawdaunt at level 30, Cherubi into Cherim at level 25, Charmeleon into Charizard at level 36, Wingull into Pelipper at level 25, Entei, Goldeen into Seeking at level 33, Pancham into Pangoro at level 32 with another Dark type in my party, Kirlia into Gardevoir at level 30, Krabby into Kingler at level 28, Stoutland, Rayquaza, Drillbur into Excadrill at level 31. Galarian Linoon into Obstagoon at level 35 during the night. Trubbish into Garbodor at level 36. Tapu Bulu. Drifloon into Drifblim at level 28. Tympole into Palpitoad at level 25, and into Seismitoad at level 36. Stuffle into Bewear at level 27. Azelf. Galarian Meowth into Berserker at level 28. Golett into Golurk at level 43. Togedemaru. Articuno. Joltik into Galvantula at level 36. Tyrogue into Hitmonlee at level 20 with higher attack than defense. Carkol into Colossal at level 34. And Mudbray into Mudsdale at level 30. This is it for the first round of Dynamax adventures, since I headed back to the mainland wild area, continuing my captures with raid dens. I had a few wishing pieces laying around after having bought them earlier, so I went ahead and started doing the raid den exploit. Essentially, this allows you to manipulate whether you'll get a common or rare den, as well as what Pokemon will be in said den. This helps immensely with how long the challenge takes, but it starts to be more difficult to perform once we start getting 2, 3, 4, and 5-star raids available. If you want more information about the raid den exploit, such as a detailed way on how to perform it, I'll be leaving that resource in the description as well. With these wishing pieces, however, I grabbed Binacle, Bonsly, and Dwebble on the mainland, and Swablu in the Crown Tundra before going back to Dynamax adventures. See, with Dynite Ore, I can also trade them in for what's called Armorite Ore, the variant that you'd normally find over in the Isle of Armor. There's a digger over there that you can give ore in order to mine massive amounts of watts, which I'll need to get the remaining few dozen wishing pieces I'll need to get the raid dens around the 3 big areas. I'll need a few 100,000 watts for what I want to do, since I'll need watts for not just the wishing pieces, but I'll talk about that when we get there. Dynamax Adventures streak number 2 begins with Solgaleo, but after that, holy crap, I had such a hard time with Zygarde! I think this is the most difficult legendary to take down out of the entire group, mostly because of the fact that it turns into its 100% form midway through the fight and gains back like 35% of its HP. If I'm ranking just wild Pokemon battles in difficulty, I'd probably put this right up there with Mewtwo in Red and Blue, as well as Ultra Necrozma and Ultra Sun and Moon. Speaking of those games, they're the games I'll be starting in a few hours after this video goes live over on Twitch. You won't want to miss it, since, oh lord, if you think this game is already insane, that one's even crazier. Getting back to captures though, I got Starmie, Jolteon, and on the 4th attempt, I finally got Zygarde. With that challenge overtaken though, I'm still gunning for more legendaries, getting Cofagrigus and Tapu Lele before finally heading to the Isle of Armor proper. So after crushing Clara and getting all that taken care of, I'm actually able to capture tons of wild Pokemon here. So I figured I'd do that while I was here, getting Baniri, Abra, Jigglypuff, immediately evolving into Wigglytuff with a Moonstone, Abra into Kadabra at level 16, Happiny, Klefki, Rockruff, Gloom into Blossom with a Sunstone, Igglybuff from a raid den, all before running into an Alolan Diglett. There's a big side quest here on the Isle of Armor where I have to find a ton of these things in order to get certain Alolan Pokemon, some of which I actually have to use to add to the dex, including one of the Alolan starters. While looking around though, I got Comfey, Lobopus from a raid den, Chansey, Bouffalant, Shelmet, Lickitung, Pawniard, Skorupi, Dunsparce, Scraggy, Zorua, Shelter into Cloyster with a Waterstone, Cramorant, Venipede, Foongus, Tangela, Carablast, Passimian, Scyther from a raid den, Emolga from a berry tree, Staryu, Psyduck, Magnemite, Dedenne, Morpeko, Sandshrew from a raid den, Wimpod, Pincurchin, Woobat into Swoobat with max happiness, Sandygast, Marini, Venipede into Whirlipede at level 21, Lillipup, Tauros, Miltank, and Pinsir. Finally, now it's time to get those watts. This guy that stands right in front of the warm-up tunnel is the Digging Paw, whom if you gives 7 pieces of Armorite ore, he'll mine up watts for you. This overall is able to net me a few 100,000 watts overall during this section, since this isn't the only time I'll mention him, but he's why I'm able to get wishing pieces for the remainder of the challenge. Moving into the warm-up tunnel itself, there's Cubone. I can get Rhyhorn from a raid den, Torkoal, Kangaskhan, Fletchling from a raid den, Sandile, Whismur, Poliwag, Azurill, Mienfoo, a female Salandit, Skarmory, Silicobra, Rufflet, Carvana from fishing, Baniri into Lopunny with max happiness, Jangmo-O, Shinx, Sandshrew into Sandslash at level 22, Fomantis, and a Alolan Marowak from the Diglett dude. Alright, time to actually do some story stuff. I decided to do the Dojo stuff, evolving Chansey into Blissey with max happiness, getting Fletchinder as well as an Alolan Executor from the Diglett dude, before finally getting enough done to get a Bulbasaur from the Dojo. There's one more Pokemon to get here as well, so I continued through the story, capturing Larvesta before taking on Clara twice more, finally getting Cubfu. I'm not going to be handling the evolution for Cubfu until the end of this section, but I wanted to get it now since I figured it would be a convenient time. I used the remainder of my watts that I had laying around for the dojo to get a few convenient things in here that I probably won't use more than once or twice throughout the entire challenge, but aside from that, let's finish up a few more things before heading back into Dynamax adventures. The first thing was the search for the remainder of the available Diglett. First evolving Vulpix into Ninetales with a Firestone, Eevee into Leafeon with a Leaf Stone, Whirlipede into Scolipede at level 32, Shinx into Luxio at level 15, Lillipup into Herdier at level 18, Poliwag into Poliwhirl at level 25, all during my search, finally getting 100 Diglett and receiving a Poplio. There's another reward when I get all of them though, but I figured who cares, it's just an Alolan Diglett, and I already have the Cantonian Diglett line, so yeah, you're not getting your other 50, buddy, sorry. I also visited the areas on the map to raise my friendship with Cubfu while looking for them, doing that right before heading back to the Max Lair for round 3 of Dynamax Adventures. I swear, this is just going to be a 12-round boxing fight where I keep getting my bum handed to me until the end when I finally get that burst of punches to finish off my opponent. In this case, this garbage game. Now that we're back though, I'm able to get Tapu Koko, Beartic, Dracloak, Vikavolt, a short break to grab Aron and Mawile from a raid den, Azurill into Meryl with max happiness, Magmar, Kyurem, Giratina, Raikou, Latios, Meryl into Azumarill at level 18, Stunky into Skuntank at level 34, Luxio into Luxray at level 30, Inkay into Malamar at level 30 with the system upside down, and yeah, you have to take it out of the dock to do that, that's dumb, I should be able to just turn my dock upside down, but I'm getting too ahead of myself. I took a quick detour to go grab the needed fossils and evolutionary items for the rest of the game on the mainland. These two right near the daycare are able to get me just about everything I need, including 2 of each fossil piece, as well as any amount of fire, water, thunder, leaf, sun, moon, dust, dawn, shiny, ice stone, basically anything that isn't a trade evolution item, which we couldn't use anyway, I can get here. With those in hand, I can evolve Poliwhirl into Poliwrath with a Water Stone, Roselia into Roserade with a Shiny Stone, Lampent into Chandelure with a Dusk Stone, and Kirlia into Gallade with a Dawn Stone, before heading back to the Isle of Armor, using the Crymomatic to get a Razor Claw for later, as well as a Cracked Pot, so all of the evolutionary items have been obtained. I went ahead and went back to the mainland to do more captures, getting Combee, Vanillite, Snover, and literally out of nowhere, a shiny Pidove from a raid den. Since I think the Pidove line looks great in shiny form, so I'm quite happy with this. At least it's not a duplicate of something I've gotten from a previous challenge. Continuing on, I got Swinub, Minccino, straight into Cinccino with the Shiny Stone, and to raid dens I can get Pichu, then back again so I can get Delibird, shout out to the Blockerboy 900, and 2 Snowrunts, evolving Clobbopus into Grapploct at level 19 while knowing Thief. since there's a technical record for it around in this section, making it very easy to do rather than wasting EXP candies. Snowrun into Frostlass with a Dawnstone while being female, Trapinch, Axew, Noibat, 6 more Eevee. Yeah, I know, I said I'd just breed for them, but I said screw it, it's easier if I just use the wishing pieces for it. Evolving them into Vaporeon with a Water Stone, Glaceon with an Ice Stone, and Flareon with the Fire Stone, since the other 3 need Friendship. Moving on, I started scouring with the Weather exploit, where you can change the clock on the system to the 15th of a certain month to get a specific form of weather, like sunny, cloudy, rainy, etc. With that, I'm able to grab Baltoy, Morlul from a raid den, Swirlix from the same den, Cleffa, also from the same den, Togepi, again from the same den, Impidimp from a rare den that just so happens to be the same den, why am I here still? Munchlax from a den, Toxel from a raid den, Bloom into Vileplume with a Leaf Stone, Female Combee into Vespiquen at level 21, Bulbasaur into Ivysaur at level 16, Poplio into Brionne at level 17, and into Primarina at level 34. Happiness evolution time, and here's where the Isle of Armor comes in. Those watts that I spent in the dojo actually give me access to EV vitamins, so I'm able to get stuff like proteins and other stuff to max out happiness very quickly, topping it off with some curry in the Pokemon camp to evolve Eevee into Espeon with max happiness during the day. I'm not sure everything else is ready to evolve, but screw it, Dynamax Adventures Round 4. Getting delirious yet? Yeah, I know I'm going all over the place. Don't worry, things will become linear soon enough. I caught Cresselia, Tapu Fini, Rovile, Tornadus, evolving Larvesta into Volcarona at level 59, Ivysaur into Venusaur at level 32, Impidimp into Morgrem at level 32, and into Grimmsnarl at level 42, Grovyle into Sceptile at level 36, Dracloak into Dragapult at level 60, Ditto, Toxel into Toxtricity at level 30, Reshiram, Rockruff into Lycanroc at level 25, Whismur into Loudred at level 20, Carvanha into Sharpedo at level 30, Heatran, Loudred into Exploud at level 40, Magnemite into Magneton at level 30, and into Magnezone with a Thunderstone, Tangela into Tangrowth while knowing Ancient Power, Zorua into Zoroark at level 30, Mewtwo, Sandile into Krokorok at level 31, Psyduck into Golduck at level 33, Sneasel, Eevee into Umbreon with max happiness during the nighttime, Zapdos, Swinub into Piloswine at level 33, Axew into Fracture at level 38, Uxie, Fracture into Haxorus at level 48, Xerneas, Female Salandit into Salazzle at level 33, Fletchinder into Talonflame at level 35, Jangmo-O into Hakamo-O at level 35, the final Dynamax Adventure Legendary in Mesprit, Hakamo-O into Como-O at level 45, Cleffa into Clefairy with max happiness, and into Clefable with a Moonstone, Sneasel into Weavile by leveling up during the night while holding the Razor Claw, Togepi into Togetic with max happiness, and into Togekiss with a Shiny Stone, Munchlax into Snorlax with max happiness, Morlul into Shiinotic at level 24, Piloswine into Mamoswine while leveling up with Ancient Power, and this is when I decided to be a bum while doing this challenge. Pulling my green screen behind my couch, it was just a nice time, it was nice and comfortable, but let's get back to the challenge at hand. This is where I started to find the challenge to be super boring, which is kind of why I went on the couch. I was like, well, I'm in for this for the long haul, so I may as well, you know, lay down and probably accidentally fall asleep. The legendaries were at least fun to battle, but now it's just a war of attrition between myself and the RNG, since sometimes I could have a Dynamax adventure that just didn't spawn anything new. And it happened a ton near the end. I could go about a half dozen raid battles without seeing a single Pokemon for myself to capture. But only being able to get one Pokemon at a time also hurts, because sometimes I'd have 2 or 3 Pokemon that I'd find in a single raid den. But I digress, I'm just getting angry. I kept going, however, since there's over 500 Pokemon in this section alone, and I know I can do it. After all, I've done Heart Gold before, surely I can do this just as well. Deck to captures and evolutions, I got Tyrantrum, Heliolisk, Trapinch into Vibrava at level 35, and into Flygon at level 45, Dwebble into Crustle at level 34, Swablu into Altaria at level 35, Aron into Lairon at level 32, Dilly, Lairon into Aggron at level 42, Porygon, Heatmore, Pawniard into Bisharp at level 52, Excavalier, Combuskin, Maractus, Rufflet into Braviary at level 54, Trevenant, Skorupi into Drapion at level 40, Combuskin into Blaziken at level 36, Nidoqueen, Abomasnow, Scraggy into Scrafty at level 39, Wailmer, evolving into Wailord at level 40, Galarian Stunfisk, which just so happened to be shiny, giving me my second one for the run, Rhyhorn into Rhydon at level 42, Lilligant, Baltoy into Claydol at level 36, Rotom, Paparaja, Mienfoo into Mienshao at level 50, Mr. Mime, Poltegeist, so much for getting the cracked pot earlier, Durant, Noibat into Noivern at level 48, Duraludon, Binacle into Barbaracle at level 39, Frostmoth, Silicobra into Sandaconda at level 36, Sigilyph, Foongus into Amoonguss at level 39, Fomantis into Lurantis at level 34 during the day, Wimpod into Golisopod at level 30, Doublade, Mr. Mime into Mr. Rhyme at level 42, Doublade into Aegislash with a Duskstone, Relicanth, Snorunt into Glalie at level 42, and Hawlucha. We're getting close, but at that point I was starting to run out of Pokemon to evolve, since I keep jumping back and forth. Now, I actually have to get some so that I can, evolve them with the EXP candies that I'm continuously flowing through thanks to the Dynamax adventures giving me Dynite Ore. Before that though, I went to the daycare for the first time, breeding several of the Pokemon that I got during all the Dynamax adventures so that I could hatch Trico, Torchic, Charmander, Lily, Onedge, Snom, Sinistea, Cufant, Petalil, Phantom, Tyrunt, Cubchoo, Dreepy, Execute, Cottony, Litwick, Magby, and Helioptile. This is the point that I learned that Nidoqueen is unbreedable. Turns out I have to wait until I get Nidoking to breed with Ditto in order to spit out both versions of Nidoran. I'll be waiting on that though, since now that I've got that breeding session out of the way, it's time for another round of Dynamax adventures. There's still a few dozen Pokemon we need here, and I think we can go ahead and grab a good number of them now, those being Absol, Sandygast into Palisand at level 42, Bonsly into Sudowoodo while knowing Mimic and leveling up, Lickitung into Licky while knowing Rollout and leveling up, Eevee into Sylveon with 3 Hearts of Affection in Pokemon Camp while knowing a Fairy-type move and leveling up, Druddigon, Nidoking, Cantonian Slowpoke into Slowbro at level 37, I got one of these from the Diglett dude when I was getting enough for Poplio, Mareanie into Toxapex at level 37, breeding Nidoking to get both Nidoran male and female, Armaldo, Nidoran female into Nidorina at level 16, and Nidoran male into Nidorino at level 16. Alright, well, I'm still relatively low on things that I need to evolve, so let's go ahead and handle some 1-star raids here in the Crown Tundra. These let me get Omanyte, Feebas, Zubat, Carbink, Smoochum, Galarian Darumaka, immediately evolving into Darmanitan with an Ice Stone, Bagon, Stonjourner, Elekid, Anorith, and Zubat evolving into Golbat at level 22. Now that I've got a few things to evolve, I figured I'd go back to Dynamax Adventures to grab some more stuff, including some evolutions too, like Omanyte into Omastar at level 40, Smoochum into Jinx at level 30, Bagon into Shelgon at level 30, and into Salamence at level 50, Oranguru, evolving Elekid into Electabuzz at level 30, Slowking, Seadra, Phalanx, Gourgeist, Golbat into Crobat with Max Happiness, breeding for Horsey, then sticking with the mainland after that, where I can get Bronzor, Coughing, Munna, evolving into Musharna with a Moonstone, Coughing into Weezing at level 35, Bronzor into Bronzong at level 33, Gothita, Esper, evolving Gothita into Gothorita at level 32, and into Gothitelle at level 41. Esper into Meowstic at level 25. Elgyem, evolving into Behem at level 42. Wynot, Mime Jr., Wynot into Wobbuffet at level 15. Athena, evolving into Hatchrim at level 32, and into Hatterene at level 42. Duskull, Galarian Yamask, Frillish, Chinchou, Dewpider, Ferroseed, Hippopotas, Bergmite, Riolu, Galarian Farfetch'd, evolving Duskull into Dusclops at level 37, Onix, Farfetch'd into Surfetch'd after wailing on a Wobbuffet enough to get 3 critical hits, Applin into Flapple after using its heart apple found in the soothing wetlands on the Isle of Armor, and now that we're here, I can pick up Quillfish, Tentacool, fishing for Delmise, and finally, it's time for the Tower of Waters. I took on several of the trainers after getting Cubfu to level 30, getting to Mustard at the top, taking down his own Cubfu with 2 Aerial Aces, winning the battle and allowing Cubfu to read the scroll in the back, evolving into Urshifu and putting me ever closer to finishing the section. Dynamax Adventures once more, this time we're actually coming up to the end, but there's still a good amount that I need along with evolutions. Those being Dewpider into Araquanid at level 24, Tentacool into Tentacruel at level 30, Chinchou into Lantern at level 28, Hippopotas into Hippowdon at level 34, Yamask into Runerigus after taking 49 points of damage and running over this completely inconspicuous rocky structure that means nothing and makes me wonder why the actual they decided to put this in the game and why they decided it was a good idea. Bergmite into Avalugg at level 37, Riolu into Lucario with max happiness during the day, Mantine, Celio, Ferroseed into Ferrothorn at level 40, Frillish into Jellicent at level 40, Celio into Walrein at level 44, Audino, Mimikyu, Aurorus, Gastrodon, Dragonair, evolving into Dragonite at level 55, then breeding so that I can hatch Shellos, Dratini, Spheal, and Amora before heading back to the Max Lair. And this is where it starts becoming unbearable. There's barely any new Pokemon that I'm missing, and sadly I've seen the likes of stuff like Wartortle and Marshtomp before now, but I didn't take them over some other Pokemon that I still needed at the time. If only you could take more than one, that would make this part of the challenge a little bit more bearable. But would it even be a challenge at that point? Well, after a few dozen adventures, I'm finally able to capture Metang, evolving into Metagross at level 45, Marshtomp, evolving into Swampert at level 36, Excelgor, breeding for Mudkip and Beldum, returning to get Indeedee, Wartortle, evolving Blastoise at level 36, breeding for Squirtle, and finally Cryogonal, finishing the Dynamax adventures for this section. We'll have to come back here in the post-game, but for now, we're done for the main adventure. There's one last thing we have to do though before finishing the section, however, that being the Calyrex storyline over in the Ground Tundra. See, I can do literally everything up to the point of getting both Spectrier and Calyrex together, but for some reason the game puts up some fake barrier saying, "Oh, I gotta be the champion to battle this Pokemon." It's like saying I have to be the WWE champion to fight The Miz. Like, I could do that in my sleep while also being out of shape and overweight. There's no reason I shouldn't be allowed to capture it, but I digress. What I can do, though, is now that I've gotten this far in the storyline, I can go to this old lady's house in Freezington to get the gift Cosmog. While I already have Solgaleo thanks to the Dynamax adventures, it's unbreedable, so this is the only way to get it, as well as Cosmoem after evolving at level 43, finishing the section with a time of 58 hours and 20 minutes, with a total of 526 Pokemon. That being 337 in the Galar Dex, 189 in the Isle of Armor Dex, 169 in the Crown Tundra Dex, and 40 non-Dex Pokemon, since most of the legendaries in the Dynamax adventures, as well as the Hoenn starters, don't have Dex entries. Again, lazy, but I'm gonna continue to shit on this game as much as I physically can. After heading back to Turffield Stadium and obliterating Milo with my duo of dragons, the next section is gonna be super hard actually. You know, I have to get Hydreigon, which is a level 64 evolution, and... oh, right, there's only 7 Pokemon. Not to mention, I still have a ton of EXP candies still laying around, so yeah, in case you were wondering, the challenge is literally almost over at this point. We only have 63 more Pokemon to capture for the rest of the game, because that's how crazy they decided to go with the obtainable Pokemon before the first gym. Sad thing is that we're really not going to have any new areas for new Pokemon in this section though. Since we've beaten the first gym, I now have access to 2-star max raid battles though, grabbing Sawk and Dino from the max raids in the Dusty Bowl, evolving the latter into Zweilous at level 50, and into Hydreigon at level 64. Shuckle's available in a max raid in the Forest of Focus over on the Isle of Armor, and Turtonator from a rare raid den in the Path to the Peak over on the Crown Tundra, leaving just one more Pokemon. After getting through Route 5 and getting the Rotom Bike, I'm able to get into Hulbury, the home of the second gym, but there's actually a market here where I can buy a Wave Incense, going back to the daycare in the wild area in order to breed Mantine while holding said Wave Incense to get Mantike, hatching it and getting into the Hulbury gym with a total of 533 Pokemon and a time of 59 hours and 47 minutes. You'd actually have a total of 535 Pokemon in Shield version, as both Galarian Corsola and Cursula are available, but we'll be tying that total up next section. 2 leaders down, 6 to go, and fun fact, if you're playing Shield version, there's literally no new Pokemon in this section. But I'm playing Sword, so after going to the second Galar Mine in search of Kabu to send him back to his gym in Motostoke, I can capture myself a Growlithe, immediately evolving it into Arcanine with a Firestone, and taking a flying taxi to get back to Motostoke. One positive thing I have to say before moving on is with Marnie though. She has a fantastic battle theme and I really enjoy her design. We really don't get enough of the punk look in Pokemon games, and yeah, while Team Yell is absolutely atrocious, Marnie and Piers, one of the gym leaders coming up, are both able to rock it very well, though I would have much more appreciated them with voice acting as well. At least I get that in Pokemon Masters. With all that said though, I made it to the Motostoke gym with a total of 535 Pokemon and a time of 60 hours and 25 minutes. Crazy how short these sections are in comparison to the first section, and it's not changing anytime soon. With 3 pieces of the gym badge circle thingy, are they still even badges? I mean, yeah, they're called badges in the game, but I'd much rather have a case than this, since it looks like the pieces should just fall out when it's incomplete. But again, I digress, as I've said multiple times. I've got 7 more Pokemon to capture in this section, but 4 of them are super easy since we've already prepared for them. After getting through all of the story beats between the 3rd and 4th gyms, I'm able to head on over to Route 6, which has a scientist that's right next to Stowonside, the home of the next gym leader. But this scientist is able to create fossil Pokemon for us. Since I've gotten 2 of each fossil piece, I'm able to fuse the fossilized bird and drake for Dracozolt, bird and dino for Arctozolt, fish and drake for Dracovish, and fish and dino for Arctovish. These are super neat Pokemon. It's cool that we have 4 different Pokemon with mixed designs, but I wonder how weird their existence is to themselves. With those obtained though, there's 3 new Pokemon besides them to get now that I have access to 3-star max raid battles. Those being Slurpuff from a rare den in the Bridge Field, you'd get Aromatisse in Shield version, Steelix from a common den in the Bridge Field, and Aerodactyl in a den outside of the Lakeside Cave in the Crown Tundra, finishing off the section with a total of 542 Pokemon. After a Hop Mollywop, that rhymes, that sounds actually kind of funny. Hop Mollywop, I'm gonna keep that. I'm able to head into the gym, saving right before the battle against B with a time of 61 hours and 28 minutes, destroying her fighting spirit with a giant flying dragon, and giving me the 4th badge. Half down and half to go, and there's seriously only 1 Pokemon for this section. It's actually abysmal how little Pokemon are in each section now. Over on the Isle of Armor, I'm able to head into the Challenge Road during a sandstorm. And while going into a sandstorm is really dumb, in this case it's smart, since I can get a Steel-typed bug in the form of Scizor. Yeah, that's it. We're just blasting through, so after grabbing that, I headed through the Glenwood Tangle to land in Ballinley, the home of the 5th gym leader. I figured I'd give Opal a different flavor of dragon, so after saving before the fight with a total of 543 Pokemon in a time of 62 hours and 15 minutes, I decided to use Reshiram to take her down, sweeping and receiving the fairy badge. There's really not much else to talk about other than the main progression of the game. After yet another hop mollywop, there's 3 Pokemon in this section, none of which being too hard to obtain. Route 8 is home to one of those, that being Solrock, a 5% encounter in the overworld, or Lunatone if you're playing Shield version, getting to Sir Chester after a few minutes. There's a trade here that I need to do involving a Furlish, so I involved my Vanillite in my box in order to use it for the trade, trading it for the other Gen 5 martial artist, that being Throw for Sword version, or Sock if you were playing Shield since you got Throw back in the pre-badge 2 section. Lastly, there's a static encounter with a Gigalith over in the Brawler's Cave in the Isle of Armor that's now catchable. Since I forgot to explain this before, there's a level cap with every gym badge, as you can only capture level 20 below Pokemon in the overworld with 0 badges, level 25 and below with 1 badge, 30 and below with 2, and so on and so forth, until just before the champion where it maxes out at level 100. Anyway, after grabbing that Gigalith, I'm able to head back to Sir Chester, saving before the gym leader with a total of 546 Pokemon in a time of 63 hours and 5 minutes. Leaving Gordy to be destroyed by Dialga, since he has a rock types, and I figured I'd rub in his face that I have the God of Time. With Hop Mollywop number 17,756 out of the way, I'm able to head into Route 9, the required ice area that isn't the Crown Tundra, where I'm finally able to access the upgrade to the Rotom Bike, the one that lets me ride on water. With that though, I'm finally able to go ahead and grab the remainder of the Pokemon for this section. There's actually 10 of them I can capture, a whole double digits, wowie! Most of which being trait evolutions, so that just so happened to be catchable, so that's kinda neat. Those being Machamp from a rare den, Lapras from a rare den, Conkeldurr from a common den, Milotic from a rare den, Rhyperior on the overworld in the Pot Bottom Desert, Clauncher in the water adjacent to the Isle of Armor, or Scraplin's Shield version, evolving straight into Clawitzer at level 37, Alakazam on Loop Lagoon in the Isle of Armor, Magmortar in a rare den, and Electivire in a rare den. We're missing Ice-Q, a Shield exclusive that they get in this section, meaning they're one ahead of our total 556 Pokemon in a time of... I forgot to save. Oh well, taking out Piers and giving me the second to last gym badge. And I guess our last gym badge as well, since that's located in Hammerlock, an area that we were given access to after beating Kabu for the 3rd gym badge, so I also ripped through Raihan in a double battle, which is actually pretty nice since we don't get enough gym battles like this. But yeah, with a time of 65 hours and 39 minutes, we've already gotten every single gym badge in the game, literally 8 hours after getting the first badge, which took us literally 58 hours to get. Great times. So here's actually the longest section since pre-badge 1, since we have a whopping 11 Pokemon to capture. Yeah, it's no more really than the other sections, 4 of which being legendaries though. We've got 3 trade evolutions available for capture at the beginning here though, so I'm able to go out and grab a Gengar from a 5-star raid den, Duskmorph from the same rare raid den at 5 stars, and Kingdra over in a common den from the Honeycomb Sea. With those 3 down, I'm able to head over to the Crown Tundra once again, as all of the leftover encounters are there. Both Generation 5 fossil Pokemon are available as overworld encounters, with Archen being in the Giant's Foot, evolving to Archeops at level 37, and Tortuga being in the Frigid Sea, evolving into Caracosta, also at level 37. Reggie time, and no, we're not talking about that Reggie. We've got the Reggie Trio? Well, the Hoenn Trio at least at first, since I'm able to do short puzzles before being allowed to battle and capture Registeel, Regice, and Regirock, all of which didn't take that much time to capture thanks to a bunch of legendaries that are able to just stand there, menacingly, absorbing attacks as I throttle out a ton of Ultra Balls, leaving just our choice for this section, either Regidraco or Regieleki. I decided to be the competitively smart player, going after the base 200 speed Regieleki, though I don't plan on playing competitively with this game. Leave that to Pokemon Showdown, or an actual good game in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. We can't get Regigigas since we also need Regidraco, but you can only obtain Aleki or Drago in a single save file, so we won't be able to get them for the challenge. With all that being said though, there's nothing else to do besides continue the story. The Champion Cup awaits, and tons of mollywopping is in order. As I answered with a full team of 6 legendaries though, I can't help but realize that I'm just literally the embodiment of Tobias from the Diamond and Pearl Anime League. Minus the Darkrai. Would have loved to have those, but of course we don't have every Pokemon in the game. If we don't have everything in the DP remakes, I will pan the game, just not as hard as I do Sword and Shield. It's just frustrating. Like, the Pokemon do not take that much time to put together. The modding scene was able to do it very quickly. I'm sorry, I'm complaining too much. Let's finish this off. Suddenly, Macros Cosmos time. What the heck? Why are this lag? I can't even talk anymore. Why are the League staff evil? Why is Chairman Rose all of a sudden evil? I have no time to read what you're all saying. Please get out of my way. After clicking through a ton of useless dialogue that had no build-up whatsoever, and therefore I cannot physically give a single f about it, I am able to kick Rose's ass into next week, making it to Eternatus. Fun fact though, the Eternamax form has a base stat total of 1,125. 405 more than the highest base stat total in the game, that being Sword Dog and Shield Dog. And no, I will not dignify their dumb names. Luckily, Eternatus is easily dispatched due to having the God of Time at level 100 on my side, destroying it, and catching it in a Premier Ball, moving on with life. Moving on includes absolutely destroying Leon though, and he actually has a really dope team of diverse and powerful monsters. And yeah, I actually have a compliment for the game. That's kind of rare. Because, like, Dragapult, Haxorus, Aegislash, Gmax, Charizard, all of these Pokemon are pretty tough, and he actually has a full team of 6. I don't think anybody else in this game actually had 6 Pokemon, but he's easily dispatched with my team of legendaries, allowing the credits to roll and getting us to the post-game. Upon waking up from the credits, I received a Master Ball from Professor Magnolia, and that sounds like a good time to return to the Crown Tundra, since we've got an easy legendary to gobble up. Calyrex is here at a whopping level 80, tying itself with Arceus and Deoxys from Gen 4 and 6 respectively, as the highest level static encounters. Yes, I know that the almost level 100 Magikarps or whatever exist. Screw those don't get to count. Now, my chat told me I should use my Master Ball here, but no, I took a few extra minutes and captured it in a regular Pokeball. Mostly because they said it was going to be the most difficult thing to capture. But why use it now when I could just easily wait until the end of the challenge and use it on the last few Pokemon that we need, since we will get a second one from the Crown Tundra here. Also, this registers Spectrier into the decks at the same time, since they're currently merged. It just doesn't come up in the decks when you capture it. With that done though, there's one other adventure of Peonies that I have to complete before unlocking some more Pokemon. That's the Galarian bird trio of Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno. They're located in the Wild Area, Isle of Armor, and Crown Tundra respectively, and though they're just alternate forms of the Cantonian birds that we captured in the pre-badge 1 section, I still have to capture them to proceed. So after about an hour of chasing and capturing them, Peony heads back into the Max Lair, where I can now capture Ultra Beasts from the Alolan games. They replace the legendaries at the end, so all I have to do is get to the end and capture them, capturing Stakataka, Pheromosa, Necrozma, Xurkitree, Guzzlord, and Blacephalon before getting a gift Poipole since I have captured 5 Ultra Beasts, and no, Necrozma doesn't count. It evolves into Naganadel after leveling up while knowing the move Dragon Pulse, so I just have to focus on the rest of the UBs. Grabbing Kartana, who, fun fact, actually nearly was one-shot by a Fire-type move while in the Max Lair. That's how weak it is to Fire-type moves. Celesteela, Buzzwole, and Nihilego, finishing off Dynamax adventures. And man, I am never going back to this area ever again. Never. We're so close to the end though, and I'm almost done complaining. Back in Winden is the Battle Tower, where I'm able to receive a gift type Null, and since I have tons of money and items laying around along with EXP candies, I'm immediately able to shove it all into Null Boy here, evolving it immediately into Silvally and leaving only 5 more Pokemon to capture for the challenge. I actually have a positive thing to say now that I'm here, but it's odd that we capture the 3rd legendary that normally would be the box legend of the 3rd version during the main game, but the actual box legendary in the post game. But hey, I can appreciate a shakeup of the status quo. What I can't appreciate are the names Swordward and Shielbert. That is dumb. What's even more dumb is that hair. I've seen anime hair. Heck, I respect the hair of characters like Yugi Muto. But holy moly, this is just comedically bad. After doing a bunch of errands, though, that reminded me of the Delta episode in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which I don't tend to think is a good thing, I'm finally able to head back to the Hammerlock Power Plant, the same area that I caught Eternatus earlier, in order to capture Zacian. 4 more legendaries to go, and 4 more Pokemon in general, and they're all Gen 5 related. There's an additional Master Ball that I'm given to by Peony over in the Crown Tundra, and since all 4 remaining Pokemon are the Swords of Justice and they are all in the Crown Tundra, all I have to do is capture 2 of them normally, then we're home free with the last 2 being Master Ball captures. Sonia's here and sends us out to find 50 sets of footprints for the main 3, and man, these things are hard to see. I wish they were a bit bigger since they're all relatively large Pokemon, but that just means I had to look carefully. The footprints are all over the Crown Tundra, so I basically just ran into them haphazardly, getting 50 sets for Cobalion first, finding him on an isolated spot in the Frigid Sea, and taking a few minutes to capture, leaving just the other 3. Terrakion was next, after finding a hub of prints for him the Dynatree Hill as well as around the Balamere Lake and Lakeside Cave. I went back to report to Sonia and captured it in the Lakeside Cave, leaving just Virizion. I've already gotten a few of its footprints, but the Frostpoint Field, Giant's Bed, and Old Cemetery had the rest of the good chunk that I needed, getting me 50 sets before I could find it in the Giant's Bed, throwing one of my 2 Master Balls, and leaving just Keldeo. There's a pot where I can camp near over the Balamere Lake, and cooking some curry with the other 3 Swords of Justice in my party, I'm able to get Keldeo to spawn, allowing me to toss my second Master Ball at it, finishing the challenge with a total of 589 Pokemon, and a time of 75 hours and 8 minutes. Holy moly, this challenge was draining. Normally I appreciate when Professor Oak challenges are shorter like this, since I was expecting a run this huge with nearly 600 Pokemon to be north of 120-130 hours, but the Dynamax adventures as well as just how boring this game can be most of the time made me just not enjoy myself as much as I'd like. But I had to finish the challenge since we're inching ever closer to completing every mainline title in the series. Heck, the only ones I'm missing are Gold and Silver, Crystal, Sun and Moon, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Generations 2 and 7, so we are inching ever closer, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I did, however, enjoy the fact that I experienced this whole game with a few dozen people over on Twitch. They were really helpful in spots that I just didn't know what was going on, and we had tons of pretty funny moments, even throughout a game that I didn't really enjoy. I sincerely think that if I wasn't streaming it, I probably would have taken longer with this challenge, but maybe if I do a solo run through it or something like a regional rumble in a future video, I'll be more dragged into the experience and see it for being better than what it is. But the Professor Oak's challenge definitely did not help in that department. Not to mention I probably won't be returning to it for a few months in that case anyway, so that I can let it cool off. Anyway, next time on the Professor Oak's Challenge series, we're going to be taking on the first of many Mystery Dungeon titles in Super Mystery Dungeon for the Nintendo 3DS. See you guys then. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, tell a friend, and don't spend more than a minute doing that, since if you are, you're taking too long. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch this, and I want to give another huge shout out to Audible for sponsoring this video. I'll see you guys next time with another challenge. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.